Howdy! A lot of folks, including myself, wanted to answer the question, what is the fastest way to travel vertically? And we've all had this idea of bouncing from one of these 45-degree angles to the next, and that's all well and good, and I'll just give a sense for the time it takes to have this kind of structure in your base. You zip on there, and it just kind of ejects you around. It's a little bit disorienting because you kind of want to turn every time, but it's okay. It's an okay way of getting around, and I'll give you a view of the base here a little later too. It's a very boxy base. I've had prototypes though, like as you can see below, where I figured that actually it's going to be conveyor belt that's the fastest. And what you learn very quickly is that with the kind of the prototypes is that you need more than 4 walls. It's too tight to turn around in there. With 5 walls, you actually end up it's just not very efficient, and the clipping is difficult. As you can see, in order to get these round structures too, what you do is you put the foundations into the ground, and you kind of just rotate it and build your walls going up from these rotated structures. This right here has how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, something like 10 sides. And as you can see, it's got all the way down. It's kind of got this look to it. And it's an okay way of getting up and down. It's a lot of work to build. I mean, I did this one more for the novelty and just for the kind of experimenting factor. But the idea is you just jump on it, and then it zips you around, and it's disorienting as all get out. So just kind of zip around. I'm not going to actually show how to build it, but hopefully that gives some sense of like how that particular design works. I actually ended up going with, I think the fastest way is what you see on the very outside of my structure. So I'm going to zip around over to this. I have platforms going everywhere, all over the map. This is kind of my pre-understanding that these Mark IV conveyor belts are actually the fastest way to get around. I'll just demonstrate real quick. You just jump on them, and yeah, they just zip you everywhere. And you can just, as long as you hit the next one, maintain your speed. Actually, you don't really need to hit it at all because you just kind of maintain your momentum. And I don't want to go way too far out there. But yeah, this is where I have my oil set up. I think in terms of the map too, I ended up putting this particular base more towards the north. I put it like kind of in the middle of a bunch of dense structures. And if you've seen the map, I don't have one handy here, otherwise I'd pull it up. This is like kind of where a lot of the oil patches are all together in like the desert or the tundra. What is this? I'll call it a desert, sure. Is it snowy? Okay, no, it looks like sand. Yeah, this is a desert. So actually standing on them is okay. Sometimes you'll get thrown off, like you can see right here, and so that's kind of why I wanted to avoid that with these shorter structures. It's also less resource intense. Not that that really matters once you get far enough into the base, but I mean, this is what the base looks like. I might show some of the internals here. That's not really the focus of this particular video, but I do want to give kind of the overall view of what does it actually look like. So yeah, it's a very cuboid sort of shape. On the outside, I've got these columns extending up, and the idea here is that I wanted to make it so you could always jump from one platform to the next with your jetpack to get around. It's not exactly the most efficient way, as I just demonstrated, and we'll jump on the fastest way here in just a second. And the idea too with this last one is that you zip along up to here. What happens is you hit a wall, and then that drops you down directly onto the next one, and then you hit a wall. And so the idea is you could have this extending up indefinitely into the sky, and be able to reach max heights in the shortest time possible. So we'll go ahead and zip around it. I do want to show you how that actually works here. We'll go to the very base of it. Have a view of the base as we cruise along. And I guess while we're here, I'll just briefly mention that the way that I have all my resources routed up is via this structure. So it's just 2 sets of these laddery things. I forgot what they're called. It's been like a month since I played the game. I just got Shadowplay working. But I just connect all my resources in here. I think you can, it supports a lot more than what I have going into it right now. But they just kind of loop up, and then you have them jump off where they're needed. And so you might have a resource created in here, put it onto the conveyor belt, and it'll get pushed up the line. But this, I think, is the fastest way to get around. And you can see it just pulls you down. You hit this wall, and then bounce off onto the next one. And then the idea here is that you can keep on doing this, but it keeps you, you maintain your momentum. You can kind of zip around here, and it's, I think, as far as I know, the fastest way to travel. I do want to show one more thing here with this video, which is the inventory structure. And so, if I can catch the lip here, you'd want to basically jump on this. So this is the inventory, and so the idea is that like from any point on the outside, if this was to be built higher, and this would be kind of like the middle of the entire like tower if it extended up into the sky, you'd fly down and then land on any one of these from the outside of the 4 points, and get pulled in basically. And this is kind of like the tightest or the densest possible way I could think to make it so that you could do all of your manufacturing in the shortest amount of time. So I see a lot of designs where people have these things kind of spread out into the distance and you have to do a lot of running. But I think the best design is the one where you don't have to move basically at all. And so all of your stuff would flow into these chests here. You can grab them. There's all these other kind of supplemental ones that I have in as dense spacing as I can manage here. Obviously, there's all the manufacturing stuff. The hub's over here for all your hub needs. But the way this would work then is that all of your view of this, yeah. I'm not going to show you how this was built because the order of operations matters a lot with this, but the idea here is that you have all your stuff flowing in from the outside, and so you have all these connectors, and so you'd have them made on different floors. They'd all flow in here and then connect to these different, the underside ones right here, and you'd have these ones connected and these ones and those ones, and so basically it's like extremely dense. I guess these are the Mark 1s just to keep it more dense. Yeah, if I ever decide to start this up again, I'll probably fill this out a little bit more. But you get the idea, I think, is that we're just trying to solve for how do we make it so we can build things in the shortest period of time by putting them in as dense an area as possible and limiting movement. Let's see, is there anything else to show? I think we've covered everything. Like transportation, we've got the inventory system. I guess I can show, I'll give a view of the inside of one of these levels. Is anything actually going on in this one? I don't actually remember what I had. Like these levels were all, I think they were all 12 by 12. But this is like the old way of getting around, right? It was all just, you jump up, you wait for your fuel to recharge, and then you jump up again. So obviously, this is the pain point that I wanted to resolve. I've got all my power plants in there. I think it's on a lower level that I might have actually something that's important to show. Maybe not. Nope, that's all ugly right there. It's not on a lower level because this is my lowest one. Maybe it's on the level above this. Let's see. There it is. Right. So what I recommend doing right away is there's a recipe for the, if I remember correctly. Again, it's been a month, yeah, this one right here. So the encased industrial beams. If you can make those with the steel pipe and the concrete, if you can get the alternate recipe for that, I think this is the most efficient way to put together your industrial steel beams, which is the requirements for the Mark IV conveyor belts, which is how you can optimize getting around very quickly. I imagine that if I want to get to the other side of the base or the other side of the map, that instead of running up and down these long structures, which was my old way of doing it, just having those Mark IV kind of these structures just floating in the air, and all you're doing is running or like flying and hitting them. That'd be the most efficient way of doing it. But I think that's everything I've got to show you. Hopefully this gives you a sense of some of the ways that you can think about how to ascend quickly, either via a structure like this, which is highly inefficient, but kind of fun, to like this system right here, or like I said, what I think is the fastest way of moving vertically, which is this one right here. You lose a little bit of time every time you hit one of these like little flat sections, but yeah, it just really sends you cruising. So anywho, I hope that at least inspires some of you to think about a base that's more vertical in nature. I've seen a lot of flat ones, and then how to traverse it. Take care, everyone.